is April 3rd of 2023, and I'm here to tell you today that the new currency is here. And we're going to be seeing it very, very soon. Central bank digital currency. If you've been following the happenings of the world at all in the last year, 2 years, but especially in these last few weeks and even days, you'll know that the central bank digital currency is something that's already been employed in test situations, in some cases, in 11 countries in the world, including China, including India, and including many Caribbean nations. The United States, however, has not quite done it yet with the new US digital dollar. But we are inches, centimeters away from it happening. And I'm going to explain to you, if you stick with me in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly how this is going to play out and how quickly it's actually going to play out, how it aligns with the artificial intelligence that is simultaneously taking over things, and people are noticing, whoa, what's happening here, as I made in my video a few days ago, the future of artificial intelligence. And you're going to quickly see how the beast is forming his one world government, his one world reign, and what that's really going to be looking like, and how quickly it actually is going to happen. You know, so many of us want to believe that we have 5, 10, 15, 20 years before we have to worry about any of this stuff. And the fact of the matter is, since the COVID agenda 3 years ago, these agendas have been going at warp speed, just like Donald Trump's thing. They're going at warp speed. And the truth of the matter is, they have been all along. We just weren't made aware of them because we didn't have to be prepared for them yet. But the central bank digital currency, I want to explain to you a little bit of what it is. And I was reading an article earlier this morning from the Council on Foreign Relations talking about the CBDCs, central bank digital currency, CBDC. And they're leaving no doubt whatsoever that this is exactly what's going to be happening. In the US, we have been gutting the dollar on purpose. The government has, I shouldn't say we, the government has been gutting the dollar on purpose ever since the COVID agenda started, and truthfully well before that. But it really started with Trump's $6.2 trillion bailout package that God himself only knows where all of that money went, because it sure didn't go to us. It sure didn't go to infrastructure. It sure didn't go to, oh, it's so windy here today. I'm hoping this thing doesn't tip over on me, and I don't like making cuts. But it sure didn't go to improve our lives. We all know that. It was done to start destroying the dollar. And Biden's trillions of dollars that he's also done since he's been in office was done to start destroying the dollar. And now you see on the world stage, country after country after country is leaving the dollar, leaving the petrodollar, and going to the yuan, the Chinese yuan, to trade internationally. That is a huge deal. If you look at the history of the United States and all the wars that we've been in, people always say it's been about oil, and it really hasn't been about oil. It's been about protecting the US dollar as the default world currency that every nation trades within, right? And I've seen so many reports lately, even from mainstream sources, as I'm assuming you have, that are explaining that when this happens, as these countries more and more are leaving, more and more every day. I even heard this morning, I believe Japan, Japan is seriously considering it now. Or I don't think they've done it yet, but they're seriously considering it. One of our best allies when it comes to trade and things like that, historically, since World War II. But China, and Russia, and India, and Iran, and Brazil, and so many countries have already done this, where they've abandoned the dollar for the yuan. Now, China already has a central bank digital currency, the digital yuan. And they're still running it kind of in a test scenario, but it's quickly moving to that. Now, here's where you need to understand what a central bank digital currency is. First of all, a central bank is a private institution. Like in the United States, it's the Federal Reserve, and people think that's part of the United States government. It's really not. It's a private institution that the U.S. government borrows money from at interest, right? It has done this historically since the early 1900s. 1913, I believe this began, this garbage way of creating money that makes us debt slaves right from the moment we're born. But it's been going on for over 100 years. And the central banks are the ones that control all the money. Mayor Rothschild said, "Give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes its policies." Doesn't matter. They wanted control of the money, to print the money, to create the money that the government's borrowed from. And then the wars that happen are all to protect the Federal Reserve's interests. See, every war we've ever been in is due to that. Truthfully, to protect the dollar, especially since the dollar stopped being backed by gold. When 1971, I believe it was, when Nixon made that genius, purposeful decision. And so what a central bank digital currency is going to be is this. It is going to be a one nation bank. And you see how the private banks, although the Federal Reserve is private, it's like I said, it's an extension of the federal government, but it's not a part of the federal government. But you could, for the purposes of this conversation, consider it, I guess, part of the federal government. The private banking institutions that we've all grown accustomed to for our entire lives, they're all going down. They're all going out. We saw it start with Silicon Valley Bank, which was a huge crash of a bank, gargantuan, just a tiny little precursor of what we're going to see. Some other major banks have had similar issues in and around the last month or so. What we're going to see is this, and I'm going to tell you how this is going to play out, and it's going to be soon. It's going to be on a Friday. This is when these things happen. And what's going to happen is it will be announced that Friday, that given Friday, is what's known as a bank holiday, an unexpected bank holiday, where all banks are going to close and be shut completely. And they're going to do it out of necessity, because what the Federal Reserve has been doing, especially since COVID, is making every possible policy that they can to destroy the private banks, right? And so when this bank holiday happens, boom, every bank is closed, and basically you have no access to your money. You have no ability to go into a bank, and everyone's going to think, well, come Monday, everything will go back to normal. Nope. That's not what's going to happen. When you hear this bank holiday on a Friday, I'm guessing on a Friday, it just seems how they do things, your ears better perk up because something's about to go down. And as those of us who understand how governments work know, that governments always create the problem to present the solution that they already have ready to go. And so the problem will be the bank holiday, the run on the banks, and the holiday will happen to stop the run on the banks, to stop people from withdrawing their money. It'll be created, it'll be manufactured. And then people will go along with it, kind of like back in the beginning of COVID with the toilet paper shortage, where they were caught, reporters were caught stripping toilet paper off of the shelves and then recording the shelves saying there's no toilet paper, and then people panicked and ran to get toilet paper. That was a tiny little precursor of what this is going to look like. And so a bank holiday will happen, and then the banks won't reopen. They won't reopen, and people are going to panic because without access to money, you can't buy things like food. But guess what? This is when the solution will be presented of the CBDC, central bank digital currency, will be presented. And it will be presented as a way to help us, to protect us, because we screwed it all up running on the banks. And now the federal government has to step in and create a banking system that is completely digital, completely cashless. And they'll do the cashless part, I believe, with this incoming Marburg disease. Look into it if you haven't. They claim this thing is kind of brewing, and it's got a 50% death rate. A 50% death rate. Now, if you know Revelation chapter 6, you know the fourth seal includes a lot of death. It includes death by war. It includes death by disease. It includes death by hunger and famine and starvation due to massive inflation. It includes death by the beasts of the earth, where a quarter of the earth will be killed by these things. Through the fourth seal of Revelation. We're in the second seal right now. The fiery red horse of war, quickly heading into the third seal of massive inflation with the wheat and the barley, as it explains in Revelation 6. And so you see that in the fourth seal, which is when things get real with a war, all things combined. A world war, starvation, massive disease, real disease, nothing like the coronavirus thing with a 0.03% fatality rate. This is going to be the real deal. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it, because I believe what Scripture says. And I believe the rulers of the world are following Scripture exactly, okay? And so to stop the bleeding is when the CBDC will be implemented. And when that's done, there will no longer be any private banks at all. All banking will be done digitally only, directly to the federal government, who will have access to every single transaction you make, okay? And the ability to cut you off from that money whenever they so choose. Whenever they so choose. You know, think of our weak kind of credit system right now and how we're judged based upon our spending habits and paying back loans and things like that. Then think of China and how China is already able to cut people out off of their currency simply because they say or do things the government doesn't agree with. That is the biggest danger of the central bank digital currency, because there's no other option. Every other type of currency will be made illegal. Cash will be made illegal due to Marburg, which they say lives on surfaces, can live on surfaces. So cash will be out completely. What we currently know as crypto, now the CBDC is a cryptocurrency. It is a digital blockchain-based currency. But all other cryptos, man, out. To hold Bitcoin will be made illegal. And the truth of the matter is it will be made useless because there'll be no way to convert Bitcoin or any other altcoin into the new digital US dollar, into actual currency that can be spent. So it will be made worthless, I guarantee it. And we'll be left with one option and one option only. And that is a central bank digital currency. Now, where does it go from there? Well, when we look at the acceleration of artificial intelligence and how I explained to you a couple of days ago in the video, the future of artificial intelligence, how I just had read an article how quickly it's going to be replacing 80% of jobs and then a lot more within the next few years down the line. We're going to be left with very, very limited options to earn money. Now you might say, well, there's always the barter system. Yeah, there's the barter system, but what's going to be the most important currency if you try to stay away from the central bank digital currency? The most important currency is going to be food, right? And so people are going to value food more than any other thing. So you could have a lot of stuff to trade for food when someone's going to say, no, I don't want any of that stuff. I want to survive. I want to be able to eat. And so to try to build a barter system within that, I maybe short term for a while it will work, but long term it just won't. And see, what we need to come to an understanding of, I know I preach this all the time, and I preach it because it's so true. There is nothing we can do to stop the agenda. This is God's judgment at the end of the age. Everything we're seeing that goes perfectly in line with Scripture, as I've done my 10 video series on the revelation of Jesus Christ. It's on a playlist on this channel. Watch all 10 videos. I did all the videos last fall, okay? And every word of it is 100% accurate, 100% valid to this day, and will continue to be, right? So if you've watched that, you know we've got right now a little less than 2.5 years. 2.5 years only until the beast has set up perfectly his worldwide reign. His worldwide reign of control, complete control. Okay? So we're going to see here in the short term is we're going to see such limited employment options. It's already happening. Personally, I have been searching for a job hardcore with my skills and my long career of experience in a lot of things. I have been searching for a job since November. I have applied for over 500 jobs now. I've had exactly 2 interviews, and then they ghost me. And I'm not the only one. I'm seeing it all over LinkedIn. I'm seeing it everywhere. In fact, someone close to me told me this morning they had just read an article that said that a human resources person had been hired by a company for $190,000 a year, human resources, and specifically told, do not hire anybody. Just pretend you're going through the hiring process. And you're seeing all these layoffs, massive layoffs, because the companies know that artificial intelligence is taking everything over and it's ready to roll. It's ready to roll. Any job that I've done in the past, I could now do in 1/100th of the time using ChatGPT, and it's the truth. And this friend of mine, who is a project manager, a high-level project manager, learned quickly this weekend that it can do hers as well. It can do hers as well exactly, but better even, and instantaneously. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we're going to be left with basically no jobs. We're going to be left with one currency within our nation, the US digital dollar, the central bank digital currency, reporting directly to the federal government. And in order to live, we will be given universal basic income. And Andrew Yang introduced that to us in the 2020 Democratic primaries, where he started talking about, yeah, universal income is exactly where we're going. And he sounded a little crazy at the time. He knew he was kind of the tool being used by the elites to introduce the idea. And when you start talking about universal basic income, it basically means everybody, it's the ultimate form of communism. And everybody gets the same amount of money, for the most part, is how it's going to work. It comes straight from the central bank digital currency, comes straight from the Federal Reserve, and we're only given it when we obey all their rules, including, I'm sure, having this thing, including whatever rules they make as they go. And if you don't do it, you're broke. You've got no money and you've got no more options. Do you see where this is going? You see how this is heading exactly to Revelation 13 and the mark of the beast. And here is where this is, I was always so annoyed during COVID, because there were so many people out there saying that this thing, the thing they put in people's arms, was the mark of the beast. And I'm like, no. That's just a test of compliance. That's all that is. That's a test of compliance. That's a precursor. I say that word a lot, but it's mental conditioning, you see. And that was a precursor. And I said that even back then. I didn't really see where this was all going. Now I couldn't see it more clearly. And what's going to happen when the central bank digital currency is implemented and is now being used, and the old currency is washed away, and all the old banks all the private banks are washed away. I should say, by the way, they still don't know, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, they don't know how lending is going to work with the CBDC. They don't know what lending is going to look like. Are you going to be lending from the federal government? That's the only option. And so they're still working through some kinks on that, because with no private banks, where are you going to get a mortgage? Where are you going to get a car loan? Or is the central bank digital currency and the universal basic income just going to cover all that? Yeah, just cover all that. And they'll tell you, just lay back, man. Enjoy your passion. Pursue your passions. Just pursue your passions. Well, what's going to happen then is everybody's going to become so ridiculously lazy and barely do anything, and the rulers of the world will just have us right locked down as the serfs they view us as, you see. But what's going to happen in the next 2.5 years that will lead to the actual mark of the beast, the mark on your hand or on your forehead? There will be, and the Council on Foreign Relations even warns about that in this article. I'll link the article in the description. There will be a major breach of security of the one bank that runs the entire country. And it's going to happen on a worldwide scale, because to start out, each individual nation is going to have their own CBDC. Ultimately, however, it will become a one world CBDC. And how that's going to happen is a major hack, a major, again, problem, reaction, solution. To push it to the next level, the governments of the world will all get together and create this hack situation where it's shown that the current version of CBDC is not safe. It's not secure, and something better needs to be done to secure it. Therein comes the mark, where Revelation 13 says you cannot buy or sell without it, because they'll implement it then. The beast will implement it, and I don't know what it'll be called, but I think it'll be based off of the Chinese yuan, because that's where all of the trading is going right now, as we talked about earlier in this video. So it'll probably be based off the yuan and the ruble, maybe a combination of the two, Russian ruble, Chinese yuan, but that will become the one world digital currency. And then to make it as secure as humanly possible, because the breach will be so bad, the breach will be so bad, people will lose all their money. It'll just be gone. And they'll have to fix it for us, even though they cost it. And the breach will be so bad, and so they'll step in and say, we got to fix this. And the only way to do it is to do it on a one world level, where we're all equal in this. And just get your mark that identifies you exactly. Get your mark that identifies you exactly, so you can just be scanned. Anytime you need to buy something, you can just be scanned. It's for your convenience. It's for your security. And there you go. There is the Revelation 13 mark of the beast. And that's exactly how it's going to play out. And it's going to play out that way within the next 2.5 years, before September of 2025, which, if you've followed me and you've followed my series and listened to my other videos, you know that we are in right now, we're a little over a year into the first 42-month cycle mentioned in Revelation, where the beast launched his war. The fiery red horse opened the second seal. Christ opened the second seal, but it was manifest on earth when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine and launched this worldwide war that will come to the American land within the next 2.5 years. So, you know, we had 3.5 years last year. We're down to 2.5 years. 42 months is 3.5 years, which leads us to September of 2025. And then the beast gets a 42-month reign with no saints left on earth after the fifth seal, where every saint who worships Jesus and truly serves Christ and will not go along with the beast will be executed. And for those 42 months that the beast has his reign, the only people left serving God on earth will be the 144,000 Israelites, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes, and the 2 witnesses, which will witness in the capital of the worldwide reign of the beast, which will be Jerusalem. And so this breach, they're going to walk us into using the central bank digital currency. And we're not going to have another option here very, very quickly. Very quickly. Very quickly. I'm telling you, the pulse, the heartbeat of this thing is beating strong of these CBDCs. US is about to roll out its test program. And once the test program is rolled out, then they can do their bank holiday and shut down all the banks and make all of your money useless and put you on UBI because there's no jobs left. No jobs left due to artificial intelligence. I am not exaggerating any of this. This is exactly what's going to happen. And so we, as believers and servants and doers for Christ, have to be 100% in tune with what's happening, when and why. Because when it comes time, I think we're going to have to use it for a while. What other choice will we have? You know, I mean, yeah, there's people that just live completely off grid and live in the woods, you know, whereas they might be able to avoid it for a while. But those of us who aren't in that situation, we're going to have to use it for a while. And as we're using it, we're going to have to keep our eyes on when this major breach happens, and then they come in with the solution. And at that point, if we are still here, if we have not been executed yet by the beast, if it hasn't reached the end of the fifth seal, which I think it might. Honestly, I think it might. When I did my study on Revelation, my 10 video study, again, that's on this channel, I'll link it in the description, the whole playlist. When I did my study, it became very clear to me that the mark of the beast didn't happen until all saints were executed. So I guess it'll kind of happen simultaneously, where those who haven't been incrementally executed through the 5th seal in Revelation 6 will ultimately be beheaded at the very end when they say, nope, I will not take the mark to buy or sell. I won't do it. And the beast and his kings will be like, off with you then. You're out. Troublemakers go. Troublemakers out. They're all gone. Now we can have our reign. Now we can have our AI world currency, digital currency reign for 42 months and try to figure out within those 42 months, they think, how they're going to defeat the Almighty in those 42 months they have, with none of us left here. So I think that'll be our ultimate last test. And it will be the most difficult test because we have to approach it by faith, understanding that Scripture is true. That's why I did my series on Revelation. That's why I focus all of my messages specifically on what the Holy Spirit has taught me about Revelation, so that you can see and understand all of this is exactly biblical. It's exactly biblical. It's not speculation anymore. It's almost too easy to see. It's almost too obvious. Maybe just because we're in the Spirit that we see it so clearly. But we need to see it so clearly. And, that is the final line. That will be the final line. Taking that physical mark that will allow you to buy and sell after this major tech breach happens that screws up all of the individual nations' CBDCs. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, man. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. But, God is really telling me that this is a message that we all need to understand, man. And I wish the churches, I wish the 501c3 church organizations were sharing this kind of stuff with their people. If you attend a 501c3 church, share my videos with your pastor, man. Let him tell you I'm crazy. I'm telling you I'm not. I'm telling you they are in line with the systems of the world. They really are. They are government agencies. They're tax-free government businesses, government clubs that mostly go along the lines of the God and country stuff. And I hope you can see now clearly that God and country is not where it's at. And nothing's going to stop what's coming. Donald Trump is not going to stop what's coming. Donald Trump started all of this. Donald Trump was the one who locked down the entire nation. Donald Trump was the one who signed a $6.2 trillion bailout package that went nowhere to anybody to improve anything. It was all to set up the crash of the US dollar, which Biden has just continued doing. Two wings of the same bird. I say it all the time. You need to absorb it and understand it and get off of all that. Get off of all that and turn to your Father, to the living God, to give you wisdom and understanding as we go through all of this, not fear. Jesus said, we don't worry about the things of today. We don't worry about the things of tomorrow, he said. We don't worry about the things of tomorrow. Today, sufficient for today is its own troubles. Sufficient for today is its own troubles. And that's true. And so we don't worry. And he will have our backs. He will navigate us through this. It will be scary at times. You may lose your entire 401k. You may lose, as it sets you up into a universal basic income situation, as the system does that. You may lose your entire life's work. You may lose your career. You may not be able to find another one. Like I said, I'm struggling, man. If you know of anything, my skills, what do I do? I've done so many things. I've done marketing, multi-million-dollar marketing for different companies through my career. I've been publisher of 3 internationally distributed magazines. I've been a content writer for years now. I do voiceovers. Obviously, I do videos and video editing and explainer videos and all these types of things. And it's just like nobody's hiring for this stuff. And as you'll see, if you ever start searching for a job like on Indeed or places like that, where it shows you how many people are applying for these jobs. I'll find a decent job to apply for, one of the 500 or so that I've applied for, and it'll tell me 500 other people have also applied for this. 600 have applied. I applied for one the other day. It said 2,400 people have applied for this. I'm like, I might as well just play the lottery. Like, the odds of getting a job with 2,400 other people have applied for it are next to nothing. And very soon, you know, I mean, industries where you're still working with your hands, man, and you're doing construction, electricians, plumbers, you know, things like that, those are going to be much, much harder to replace. Barbers, you know, things like that. But the types of jobs that so many of us do now, that's why that article from JP Media said 80% of jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence. And that's why we're seeing all these layoffs, even from profitable companies. Hundreds of thousands of people being laid off. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is saying, oh yeah, unemployment rate is only 3-point-something%. All that means is that's the percentage of people that are on unemployment insurance. People have been out of work for so long at this point since COVID that they're not on unemployment insurance anymore. What they should report to us is the not working rate, or unable to work rate, unable to find work rate. And so if you know of anything that fits my skill sets, get in touch with me, seriously. Or if you have something, you know, you can go to my website, nolongerlost.quest, nolongerlost.quest. You'll see, get in touch with Travis. There's my email address. Just shoot me an email. You know, I don't ever ask for help on this channel, and I'm not really asking for help necessarily, but if you do have something or know of something that you know my skills would fit very well with, just let me know. Let me know, and I'll look into it. I appreciate that. So keep your eyes peeled for what's coming very soon. Watch for this bank holiday. Listen, listen, listen. When you hear bank holiday, understand what's going on, and understand. And they may not do it the first time. They may tease us with a bank holiday and then bring them back for a short time. But I'm telling you, it's going to be within the next few months, if not sooner, that the CBDC will be instituted, and then we will be on that fast track toward the mark of the beast, in the worldwide central bank digital currency. So, as I always say, spend some time with God today about everything I tell you. Watch my Revelation series on this channel or at my website, nolongerlost.quest, Quest. And you'll see that the world is aligned right now in every way with the prophecies of Jesus Christ and the revelation of Jesus Christ. And all we can do is have God's will on this earth be